We are live, right?
Beyond Narratives. Today's show is about the UFO sighting. So, on November 13th, two subcommittees of the House Oversight Committee held a joint hearing titled Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena Exposing the Truth in Capitol Hill, during which they heard from four witnesses regarding the UAP sighting. The first witness was Luis Elizondo, a former military intelligence officer who spent 10 years running a Pentagon program investigating the unexplained sighting. Elizondo told the Congress that UAPs are real, advanced technologies not made by our government or any other government are monitoring sensitive military installations around the globe. Furthermore, the US is in possession of UAP technologies, as are some of our adversaries. I believe we are in the midst of a multiple decade secretive arms race, one funded by mislocated taxpayer dollars and hidden from the elected representatives and oversight bodies. The second one was journalist Michael Shellenberger, founder of the news site Public on the Subtract platform, who submitted 214 pages of testimony into evidence. Last month, Shellenberger published an article alleging that the government was running what he described in his testimony as an active and highly secretive program called Immaculate Constellation, which includes hundreds, maybe thousands of images and videos of UAP. Another witness was Michael Gold, a former NASA associate administrator and a member of the space agency's UAP Independent Study Program, and a retired Rear Admiral Tim Gallaudet, who was deployed off the east coast of the continental US in January 2015, where he also experienced a UAP incident. That's the introduction of the topic. Shaji, would you like to add something about it?
Yeah, it's an interesting subject. I've been kind of very skeptical about it in the beginning, but when you look at it, it's very interesting. One interesting aspect in this entire situation is that all of a sudden, a lot of academics have started to look into this. One being Machio Kaku. I'm sure a lot of people know his background, and with that, I'm going to move to Rafi. I think he'll have more insight, because till I spoke to him, I was like not very convinced of any kind of possibilities that this can be anything but an army kind of technology or secret technology, which various governments are using, because majority of these incidents are either happening near nuclear bases or they happen to be near areas which are basically army establishments. So Rafi, what do you think in regards to that, and how do you see this, and why do you think the government is basically looking into this in this way in the US, and why all of a sudden? And I think we should have a general conversation in regards to this, and everyone should just pitch in, because this is more of a subject which we are trying to explore at this stage. Go ahead, Rafi.
Okay, I'm going to defer for a bit. I want to hear what everyone else says, because you already know where I stand on this. So, I want to hear what everyone else says first. I want to see where they are.
Aditya?
So, like, I have arguments from both the sides. Like, I can argue from both the sides. It's a mixed opinion from my side. Like, on a very basic level, I can talk about why, like, it's a like, I can defend that, why would they talk about it, or like, let's say, why would they profess the idea that they have cited UFOs or aliens, all these ideas, like, to a basic, like, regular guy, it somehow makes you or makes you better than the other countries in a sense. If you look at the movie, or even MIB and all those movies, the relation to ideas with you being in contact with somehow like aliens and all that ideas also brings in some sense military superiority, if you get what I'm trying to mean by that. So it works on the basic human psychology. But if it's if it's about conveying a message to the greater the national governments around the world, then I'm sure they are smarter than that average person that they might be targeting. It could be information warfare. But if you want me to argue from the other side, yesterday we had a quick chat about it, where we discussed that how probable it is for aliens to exist. And even with understandings from the best of the physicists and scientists, we know that existence of aliens is very probable, on this in this galaxy. So is it possible? I think it is possible. Do I think it's what they are claiming that they have cited is true? I don't think so. Then the question arises, why do I think they are doing it? It could be political, it could be internal politics, or it could be also be propaganda warfare. Globally, we know in history, governments have tried to use these propagandas, or these ideas to convey to the world that they are superior, uh, in some sense. There are also some ideas are also aliens are also used to undermine in a racist way the history. Very very recently I learned that there are some people who talk about aliens building the pyramids. And some people will argue that they talk about the aliens building the pyramids is because they can't accept that the brown people, or the black people, or the Africans built such great monuments 4,000 years ago without help of aliens, because they are not as civilized as us white people. So there are a lot of ideas we can talk about from angles. But do I think that alien existence is possible or probable? I think it is, and I think that aliens do exist somewhere in the galaxy. They are probably very smart, probably smarter than us. I also believe that. But are the recent sightings exactly what they are telling us they are? I'm not too sure. And I think it's more of a propaganda warfare. I don't know why they are doing it. That's my basic understanding at the moment. But I would like to learn what Rafi thinks about it, and that'll be interesting for me.
Uh, I have
Yeah,
some
can I
some.
say something now? I have so
Yeah, yeah,
much to tell
of
Aditya.
course. Yeah,
So
yeah. Go
Aditya,
ahead.
I don't know if you know this, but I've been obsessed with aliens since forever, right? Here's the thing. Alien sighting have not only happened in US, right? If you Google it, you will get multiple incidents outside of, especially in Africa, mostly happening in Africa. The biggest example of that is what happened in the aerial school incident, where 60 students met this saucer kind of object came, and they met a person who told them something about how we're destroying Earth. It happened back in 80s or 90s, right? And then all the journalists went there, and they were all surprised because all the children had the same exact stories. There was no questioning that if one person is telling a different one, right? So that's one phenomena, and there have been multiple. Let me tell you something. I've actually met people in Pakistan who have actually claimed that they have seen UFOs. But because most of the other countries, they do not take this topic very seriously, there is also a claim by that South African government also have some alien technology in their hands, and multiple stories like this. There has been alien sighting in Arab countries, Morocco, and all these countries, right? So it's not just that they're saying that. And you need to understand, these people also said that they were threatened into shutting up. This one person, what's his I forgot his name, this retired navy person, he got an email. His story was that they got an email regarding this UAP thing, and those emails were deleted, and they were never mentioned again. He got that email by accident. He was not supposed to be part of that email list, right? So it's not exactly, I don't think. And you know what, on a very casual point of view, Aditya, wouldn't you say that anything that comes from outside of the world would be considered alien? So if you believe in beings that are not exactly from this world, wouldn't that mean that you already believe in aliens?
Yes, I do.
So technically you already believe in aliens.
Like I said, I do believe that there is a not possibility, but I think there's a probability that aliens do exist. But I'm not so sure about the recent the declassification or whatever, like the US state or these agencies are trying to do is exactly that. It could be possible, like even the videos that surfaced, we know that whatever, if it those videos are true, it can't be the matter that exists on our planet or in our understanding or the periodic table, which can function in the way that our understanding of physics does work, right? Its movement can't be defined by the current understanding of humans in physics or in science in general. So those maneuvers and all those actions that were showcased in that, like short video, if you remember that video from 2020 or 21, uh, that's not like possible with the current physics understanding that we have. So I'm not sure, but like I would never say that it's there's a very thin possibility of existence of aliens. I think there's a it's more possible, it's more probable that aliens exist than not. That's my understanding, but I'm not so sure about the recent sightings. That's my point.
Okay, I suppose that is an introduction to me now, is it?
Yes.
Okay, I put in a couple of things in the chat uh, about the probability of alien existence predicted by the Drake equation. Drake was a physicist back in the 1950s, or a mathematician or something. I think he was American, not sure.
Yeah,
Essentially,
1950s. He died in the early 60s. Yeah, that's correct.
right. And he came up with an equation predicting the probability of life other than on here on Earth. Interestingly enough, recently, the one flaw in his argument was always that we know stars exist outside of our own solar system, but does that necessarily mean other planets exist? We didn't know until recently. The discovery of exoplanets, as in planets revolving around stars in different solar systems, gives great weight to the Drake equation. And new exoplanets are being discovered by NASA and the European Space Agency, as well as the Japanese Space Agency, every single day. So think about it. How many billions of planets out there just in our own galaxy, and the probability that absolutely none of them, other than on Earth, has any form of sentient life. If you were a gambling man, you'd put your money on the probability that there are other alien life around. Question is, have they come to Earth? Well, I have a bit of an issue with that, but not because I don't accept that aliens don't exist, but simply that the location of planet Earth in our own Milky Way is right at the outer edge of one of the arms and is so out of the way. Why would aliens be bothered to come and stare at us? They frankly wouldn't. They might stumble across us once or twice, but they wouldn't keep coming back because we're not that interesting. But assume that they have been here in the past. I think that's probably likely, but the vast majority of UAP encounters probably are not extraterrestrial in nature. There is another possible explanation, and that is to do with the multiple universe theory, namely that there are multiple or parallel dimensions. And that is actually an official theory.
Can you go
Stephen
into a bit of
Hawking.
detail? Can you go into a bit of detail in regards to what do you mean by a dimensional thing?
It's called the multiple universe theory, the many worlds
Yeah,
theory, if you will.
explain that, please.
Essentially, that our world is just one particular version of it. There are many versions of the universe and everything in it. And each of these versions exists simultaneously, albeit in different dimensions. And the difference between the
You're basically
dimensions.
trying to. If would it be correct if I said that interterrestrial beings is what you're advocating for? So these might be beings from this very planet, but just in a different dimension that
Alternate
they're
universe.
not visible to the eyes. Is that what you're suggesting?
In addition to the fact that there could be, it's certainly one possibility. And it's a very
Does anyone
real
else have
possibility.
anything to say in regards to this proposition? This is an interesting proposition.
I'm not excluding the possibility of extraterrestrial visitation. I just can't seem to reconcile why would they come all this way just to stare at us time and time and time again. They wouldn't. Therefore, the number and frequency of these encounters suggests another explanation. Now, many of these encounters may well be secret military tech being tested, but not all of them. In fact, most of them probably aren't. Because whenever you have secret military testing, even though the governments don't admit it, they will always close off the flight path and the airspace because they don't want anyone else peeking at it. Well, these encounters happen where the airspace is completely open, which is why you get sightings. So that's not really military tech. And then, of course, as Aditya pointed out, quite often these encounters include maneuvers and essentially propulsion systems that we could not reproduce ourselves given our current understanding of physics.
We know that we can't propose, like, for example, one of the glass ceilings, which a lot of people were proposing, is that it's going faster than speed of light, which it clearly is not. But even if we look at the theory of relativity, which Einstein proposed, what you'll find is that he did propose that it was possible.
Well, of course it's possible.
To travel
it is possible. to
Yeah.
travel through the speed of light. Any physicist worth their salt will tell you that. The key technical hurdle, of course, is in order to travel at the speed of light, you have to do it in subspace. It's quantum physics, not normal space. And that's the technical hurdle. How do you envelop yourself into subspace? Well, until you figure that out, then no, you can't go faster than the speed of light, which is why we can't do it. But other more advanced civilizations may well do, because we're not actually that far off from being able to do it.
That's interesting proposition. So what do you think about this, Maham?
I feel like there are multiple theories about why they visit or why they don't visit, right? So it can be that they might be uh, just watching us for the very reason to check how dangerous we can get, right? This is the called the dark forest theory, where there are other beings but they're not showing themselves, just because either they're too powerful and they don't care about us, or they're not powerful enough to deal with us. They just have some technology where they can fly to other planets, but that's about it. Secondly, there's also this discovery. It's a theory for now, and they are suspecting that some of the stars that they've noticed, they might be that there is this theory of Dyson spheres. I don't know if you've heard it. It's like it's kind of a star structure that, according to them, according to the theory, will be used by the advanced civilization of aliens to run their technology. So they're taking power from their sun, technically, to use it, and they have actually marked some stars that they think that there might be Dyson spheres. But then again, same thing. The universe is so big. Our own galaxy is pretty big, and we haven't discovered anything. We haven't even left the solar system. So we don't know. Maybe there's possibility, like in Star Trek, in future they make this federation with the Vulcans later on in 2100 years. So maybe they're watching us, how far we can go, and after we reach a certain level of
But what do you think the probability of them being interterrestrial is actually
so
plausible?
there's also this I've been hearing this, but I don't know. They're saying that most of they might be underwater. Someone was telling this story about a torpedo being taken away by a submarine like structure, which was not a submarine. It didn't behave like a submarine, but it took a torpedo away from American submarine. So yes, they might be. When some people are saying that they have lived here underwater way before us, like they were here when the dinosaurs were here. So that makes it really confusing. That what do you call them? Another species of Earth? I mean, we do have a supernatural species like that. I mean, as a Muslim, we do believe in jinns. So there is
But
that.
so again, for those who don't know jinn, jinn is basically an Islamic term used for any kind of living species which cannot be seen to the with a naked eye. And if we think about it, this is something which is very common in other
A
cultures as
genie.
well. Well, they've reduced it to that, but even
Yeah, I
like
mean,
there
the genie of Aladdin is a jinn.
are, yeah, that's what they've confused it with, but it's technically not. But other cultures and other religions around the globe have spoken about various things, and there are these figures. One example would be like we can get to Hinduism, Aditya. For example, when I was chatting to Rafi yesterday as well in regards to that. There's a lot of interest in regards to uh, the Hindu deities and the Hindu mythology or theology, however somebody might view it. But so that's a very interesting one. So what are those depictions of, in your opinion, Aditya?
So before I go to that, since we are talking about it, and some people might think that talking about aliens is it's not, it's kind of some people find it stupid. So let's just let's uh, come to the conclusion that it's not that stupid. Even if we talk about what just happened 30 days ago, not even a long time ago, just 30 days ago, NASA literally have launched a satellite to one of the moons of Jupiter. The moon is its name is Europa. The satellite was launched on October the 14th, and its mission is to land on this one of the moons of Jupiter, where they believe they have found in water in some kind or shape. And they also think that they might find uh, traces of, or they might discover some form of simple microorganisms under the water. So you don't even have to
It's
jump
completely covered
solar.
in water, Europa.
Yes, so NASA believes that they might discover some form of simple life form even within our solar system. So it's not that if we can believe that we can find some form of complex life form on within our solar system, so it's very very possible that some kind of like uh, aliens do exist in a sense. And if we talk about the second point that we're talking about, if we believe that aliens do exist, they then and they are if they know that we exist, that means they have traveled through galaxies, and they have observed us through galaxies, and they know that we exist because we are a tiny blot within the the entire universe. So to understand and to come to this planet and to observe us, it needs very high capability of technology that they would need if they do exist. Then if we just even try to learn about human history, just in the last 200,000 years, we barely started using rocks to hunt animals, to starting to learn to light fire. And within the last 200,000 years, or specifically last 5,000 years, we became more civilized. And the first satellite, the Voyager launch that we have launched, it has barely crossed the last planet, the supposed planet Pluto, not more than 2 decade ago. So we haven't even crossed our solar system since the invention of satellites. And if they are in have entered our solar system, they have to be very complex, very intelligent, and on a evolutionary scale, at least multiple hundreds of thousands of years ahead of evolution than we are, since earth is 13.8 billion years old. So even if they are 10%, 20% early than us in the evolution cycle, they have been very smart. And talking about the last point that you brought up about Hinduism, so I believe that all these religions, specifically Hinduism, do talk about uh, these extraterritorial places. We They also talk about apsaras and higher level of planets, where these people with power reside. They have special powers, and they come to earth when they see that humans are doing stupid things to re-establish the dharma, in a sense that, to re-civilize the humans. So these ideas have existed. I don't know what were the reason behind it. Were the, humans have known about existence of aliens for from a long time? I don't know, but these ideas have existed, that there are people who lives on, kind of the seventh sky, or the, some other kind of dimension, who comes here to establish order, and they are, far superior than us. When it comes to technology, they also have these, you can call it UFO, we call it vimanas, and they are used to travel, and these creatures, or these, these identities, they sit on it, they travel through it. So all these ideas have existed. I don't know, where did they come from? Did they come from, human understanding of the unknown, or there's some truth to it, or the aliens have in some time in history visited humans? We can, it's all open to debate.
One thing, Aditya, is very, very interesting for me, at least, and why all this becomes a bit more plausible, is that every single ancient culture, every single religion, in one way or another, kind of mentions some form of beings who either they classified as deities, or some kind of another species, or aliens, or something which they don't understand. So definitely, you cannot basically, or nobody in their right mind will be able to reject the fact that this is something which has gone on and is kind of mentioned in one way or another throughout human history. So there's got to be something. But before concluding, there are interesting episodes, like one of not recent, not too long, but still known history, still a long time according to our lifetimes. In 1519, when there was a guy called Hernan Cortes. This guy basically landed on the shores of Americas, and the Aztecs who received him, they thought the Spaniards were some kind of gods, and they went and they praised, or whatever. But what this guy basically possessed, and what they did not possess, even though he was human being, but this is a good explanation
So,
in regards to what can happen, because he basically had ammunition, he had gunpowder, and they'd not seen that phenomena before. They basically thought that he was God, and those people were gods. But
uh,
they were just like aliens to them, or interterrestrial different race to them, in within the human race. So again, I think nobody will be able to deny that there is something, but what it is
Sure.
what
So, I
yeah.
want to pour this situation to you. That's not true. This was written by the so-called white historian, that he was treated like God, but that's not true. In Inca history, according to the Native Americans, they just treated him like any other man, but he was like a guest. But in order to justify their actions, they made it look like, oh, they thought we were gods, but that was not true.
No, but Inca are different from Aztecs.
Now I'm talking about Incas.
Yeah, I'm talking about
The
Aztecs.
first
No, it's
What's
the
the
other
explanation,
way around.
yeah, they do not see him as a god. It was an exaggeration, like they do always by the white people, by the white historian of that time, to kind of add justification to what they were doing over there.
Well, that's kind of debatable, but we're not going to get into that. But still, the phenomena in terms of example is there.
No,
If you don't
I think once if someone looks like a human being, no matter what color they are, nobody would. It makes more sense that nobody would take that person as a god, unless, of course, he has some claims to it.
So there's a very recent example when the internet was not very common. There were people in India and Africa who went there with laptops and small modems, and they portrayed local deities and made them say stuff. And people actually believed that they were blessed and they were in contact with God and they could hear their deities speak. It's the point over here is that when there is something unknown and it's an unknown phenomena for the local populace, whoever is witnessing it, they're going to say all kinds of things because
Yeah,
they
but
don't.
I think it's a big flex when somebody like getting someone to talk to someone on a technologically new thing. That's more, that makes sense, right? But just going somewhere and you have white skin and they start treating you like god, that's very senseless. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. You have the same nose, you have two eyes, you have one mouth, you're human. They might have treated him a little bit this something new, right? Like
It might be exaggerated, but wouldn't be like,
Well, at
treating.
least they had not seen that technology before, and that must have
yeah,
astonished
the
them in various
technology makes
ways.
sense.
Yeah. So that technology, like for example, if somebody who's never seen a smartphone and somebody walks in with a smartphone to that person and shows its capabilities, that person is going to be in a shock. He's going to think, what the hell, who is this person? Even if that person is your identical twin. He's going to think, where is this person getting these extra powers from? But again, it's an interesting phenomenon. So maybe the point was, and I'll move to Rafi with that as well, what he thinks in regards to that as well. And I think everyone should just pitch in whenever they want to. That's how this conversation will progress. Uh, m- uh, like, how do you view? You've heard everyone, Rafi, Aditya, me, Maham. What's your
Yeah, it is an accepted truth or fact, if you will, that any sufficiently advanced technology, when it's viewed by someone who has no way of conceptualizing how that works or anything, then that individual will see that technology as magic, as divine. That is a well known phenomenon. It all depends on whether or not your understanding is sufficient that you can at least conceive of the idea. So, your example, Sir Glenn, about the smartphone, yes, they would be in shock if that person had no idea as to what a phone was. If they'd never ever heard of a phone, let alone seen one, then yes, the smartphone would be magic. But someone who is at least used to the idea of a phone, even if it's the old kind of dial type phone that you might
they'll
have had 50
understand
years ago,
because they have a
they
concept
wouldn't
of.
consider the smartphone magic. They just consider, wow, that's really, really high tech. But they would understand what a phone is. But go back 400, 500 years earlier and show them a smartphone, they think that's magic because they have no idea what a telephone would be.
Yeah,
It
and
all
then they might
depends.
burn you at the stake.
Then they might start seeing you as something otherworldly, perhaps even divine. It all depends. See, we're looking at this from our perspective, and our perspective is such that our understanding of science and physics and mathematics is now sufficiently advanced that we, even if we can't do something, we can at least conceptualize it. So, for example, with the UAPs, making these fantastic maneuvers that defy our understanding of aerodynamics. Well, no, they don't really defy it. We can't do it, but then that's because we know we cannot, as yet, harness negative energy. Once we're able to harness negative energy, then yes, we could do that as well. We have the necessary scientific understanding to at least begin to understand these things. But go back 200-300 years earlier, they wouldn't. And therefore they would consider this magical, heavenly, divine. We don't. Our understanding is a
Because we've
little
seen
bit
it
too
process.
good. Sorry?
Because we're part of the evolution and we've witnessed it. It's somebody who has to be absent from that progression. But in this case, like one of the other things which I've noticed growing up, anyone who talks about aliens or anything, there's a whole stigma attached to it. But then these UFO sightings or UAP sightings, whatever name you might identify that with, are a physical phenomenon.
Well, again, let me state another truism, and this is absolutely true. The vast majority of people, all human beings, believe what they see, what they want to see, not necessarily what is actually there, but what they want to see. Similarly, the vast majority of people hear what they want to hear, not necessarily what is being said, but only what they want to hear. As a result, they have a tendency to believe whatever they want to believe, which may or may not be true, but they'll believe it anyway. 500 years ago, everyone believed the world was flat. Everyone did. Just because they all believed it didn't make it true, but they believed it nonetheless. So this idea of being stigmatized, that is a bit of a red herring. Until you can actively rule.
Said over and over again. I remember in my university days as well, like when people used to converse about this, and this was one of the conversations within the engineering and majority of science faculties would have a few people who will be talking about these things. Those people were kind of ostracized. And I remember
Of course they would be. Of course they would be. As I said, people believe what they want to believe. And if they really want to believe something, they will. But interesting enough, when they believe it to that extent, they don't like their beliefs being challenged. So I'll give you another more archaeological type of example. The Great Sphinx at the foot of the Great Pyramid of Giza is supposedly dated to around the time of the pharaoh Khufu, about 2,500 years BC. But a geologist who knew nothing about archaeology, geologists take a look at the actual Sphinx and the body, and they see telltale signs of limescale, which is due to precipitation or rainfall. Well, the last time that the Valley of the Kings had enough rainfall to be able to create that kind of patterning in the limestone would have been more than 8,500 years ago. But Egyptologists refuse to accept the evidence of geology because they really want to believe that they are right and that the Sphinx was made 2,500 years ago. So they ridicule the geologist, even though the geologist's evidence is literally carved in stone. And it's a chemical reaction. It can't be faked. But they don't want to believe it. So yes, people will ridicule anyone who points out different possibilities, even though those possibilities may have evidence to back it up. But it's only because people don't like their beliefs being challenged on the off chance that they might actually be wrong.
but why all of a sudden this acknowledgement then all of a
Yeah,
sudden?
I just want to add one thing here. It might be stigmatized in the West, but when I speak about subcontinent, I don't know Aditya can speak about India, but as far as I've seen Muslims, they're more open to the ideas because as a Muslim you believe in jinn, so they're like if jinn exists, then the other party might exist as well. They're more open to that idea. So it's not exactly, I think it's more the in England might it might be stigmatized, especially because, and let's be honest, some stories are very weird as well. Like I see these conspiracy theorists in on TikTok, and they have some really, really, really wild things to say about the whole thing. So it's, I think it's the exaggeration that also gave it a really bad face. Like in if I tell someone in Pakistan that do you believe in aliens, they might just say, oh yes, I do believe in aliens. If jinns exist, most probably aliens exist as well. After all, Quran is a book for the whole universe. It just never says it's for the whole, for just for earth. That's the justification they gave. But other than that, they don't exactly come up with stories that, oh, the government is hiding this, or I don't know, they're doing this or that. They don't come up with these stories. So maybe the only conspiracies that they believe in are the Illuminati things.
Mom, can
Well,
I point out one idea that, referring to what Rafi said about humans and their understanding. I think, most humans, since our brains are designed in a way that we can separate the signal from the noise, in the sense that, how many times do you think a regular human thinks about the size of the galaxy that we live in, how humongous it is, just imagine that just in our Milky Way there are around 200 billion stars. Just in our galaxy, sorry, just in our Milky Way are, and there are at least 800 billion such galaxies that exist in this universe, and which is only 15% of the observable universe that we know of. like you know a regular human mind can't even comprehend that, what is the scale of this huge number. It's trillions and trillions of stars, billions and trillions of stars. You can't even think about the scale and size of this number. So most humans just simply ignore this information. It becomes like a noise to them. It doesn't become a signal to them. So they will just ignore it, because they believe that, this information is not worthwhile to, to comprehend. So that I also believe is a big problem why they don't care.
So I want to add one more thing. On Voyager, Carl Sagan and his team put up these things in case an alien or UFO gets, Voyager lands somewhere like that, where they've put up some music tracks, some languages over there for them. So it's not actually that far fetched, don't you think?
It has barely crossed our solar system, and, can't even cross the our galaxy in next probably a trillion years. It wouldn't be able to cross our galaxy, and
That's
Oh,
our
true.
I know
galaxy
I
is
think it
one of the
reached Oort
800
cloud
billion
right now.
galaxies that exist. One of the 800 billion galaxies that exist. So these
No, I
numbers
know
are,
that, but
insane.
I understand that, but at some point, maybe they'll enter our solar system, or maybe they've come to us. You never know. We don't know how. I mean, there might be life outside of
Another interesting thing
our
that I
solar
want to tell
system.
you. Ma'am, do you know that before the aliens could read our signals or our, like, understand our tapes or radios? Do you know that, the radio that we use, the signals that we use, which we transmitted, let's say 100 years ago, that signal can't be destroyed. If we have released that, like, information in the universe, it can't be destroyed. So it's traveling, like, the signals that we released 100 years ago, they are traveling in the universe. It might not reach the aliens in the next a trillion years, but it exists because that energy can't be created or destroyed. So these signals are like traveling throughout the world, just at a very slow pace. That's the problem.
Or
So in a sense,
maybe
we
there is
are creating our
possibility that
digital footprint.
some of them are ignoring us because some million light years away, when they look at us, they see they still see the dinosaurs, not
It's
us.
like that's also a point, but it's like observing a colony of the ants. Do you think, like, humans might go once in a while to understand and observe the colonies of the ants, and, like, understand, like, how these species are doing for themselves, how are they working together? It's cute for humans to understand, but do you think humans are actually, like, scared or regularly thinking about what the ants are doing? So it's if I think that if the
No, but that's
intelligent
normal.
life exists, that's how they treat us,
No,
like
but
the
Yeah,
ants of
we're
the
not,
universe.
we're not. No, no, no. I think it's very different because ants live with us. They've been here since we were here. So we are kind of part of each other's ecosystem. But one thing that I was just reminded of something. There is this episode of Twilight Zone. Anyone, any of you ever seen the Twilight Zone series?
yeah,
So there is this series called The Twilight Zone, right? It has this episode where this armada of aliens come to Earth, and its leader visits Pentagon, quite obviously, and he tells them that they're going to destroy Earth because they did not. They were the reason, they planted us on this earth, and we did not live up to their expectations. So what happened is that the general tells the alien that give us a month. I don't know if it was a month or a week, but give us a month and we'll fix everything. So what happened is that in that 1 month they assign these peace treaties, they fix everything, they fix all the hunger, all the issues of the earth, they're fixed, right? The world is a peaceful place for the first time ever. What happened is that when that alien general comes back to Earth, the U.S. General gives him a document and tell him that we have fixed everything. There's peace on Earth. All the wars have been ended and everything. And the general goes that, "Who told you I wanted that?" And the human general was like, "What?" So the alien general goes that, "I don't care about your peaceful living or anything. We planted you on this planet just so that we could see how you can develop into a more warrior species which we can use for our wars. And you did not live up to our expectation. You are weak, right? Physically you're weak, we cannot use you, so we are going to destroy you." So the lesson that I learned from, I would, but it will be like a question that, do you think that if we find some alien armada or some alien species, uh, well, against earth, do you think it will actually unite everyone, all the human? You think it's possible?
no, no,
Well,
it won't unite anything
I
because
don't you
human
think that if
beings.
we have a new enemy, an outsider, it will actually put us all on one page because we'll be like, we're humans, we're
No,
gonna save Earth.
no, I don't have that much faith in humanity to do that. It's just, we're just far too selfish for that. No, that's not going to happen. But going back to what Aditya was saying,
Yeah,
um,
that's something I want to touch as
I
well. You go
I
first.
actually agree with him about
Mm.
what he actually said about that, which is why I said right at the start that those UAP encounters that cannot be explained, although some of them I accept may have been extraterrestrial, the vast majority of encounters I cannot accept as being extraterrestrial in nature, simply because why would they come all this way just to keep staring at us? I mean, yeah, going to the zoo is a great fun day out, but you don't go every single day. So I can't reconcile that, which means I'm much more leaning towards the idea that the majority of these unexplained alien encounters may well be interdimensional, not extraterrestrial in nature. Although I don't exclude extraterrestrial entirely, I just don't think they've made up the vast majority.
I want to add
We're not that
something.
interesting. We're really not.
I
And as far as Hollywood's
Great.
concerned about aliens coming to invade us, seriously, any life form, any species that is capable of traveling faster than the speed of light, because in order to do that, you're traveling at that speed. If your spaceship runs into even a speck of dust, you are blown into a million pieces. So in order to do that, you need to have very strong deflector shields that will repel anything in your way. So any species that has that, if they want to invade, there is nothing we can do to stop them. We could throw all our nuclear weapons at them. We wouldn't even scratch the paintwork. We might as well just stand there and yell insults for all the good it will do. So no, I don't buy the Hollywood scaremongery of aliens are going to come and invade us. Because if they want to do that, there's nothing we can do to stop them. At best, if they have been here, they see us as lab rats or as little creatures that are very good to study, but only for a little while, just out of
okay.
curiosity.
There's one more thing which I want to basically add to what you've basically said. So Aditya mentioned ants. Now that's an interesting correlation in my opinion, because if you look at ants, they're a binary creature, right? That they can only perceive left and right. They How they perceive us is not known to us, but there is a certain kind of interaction, maybe to a greater extent than we being in contact with what we might refer to aliens or interdimensional or interterrestrial beings. But obviously, there has been some kind of an interaction which is ongoing, and all these religions talk about it, all these cultures talk about it, and now we've got a similar situation coming from um, general populace in the West, and on top of that, now we've got academia looking into it. One other interesting aspect which I was going through and which really kind of blew my mind away, that there were some people whose DNA has been tempered. There have been reports of people who were, according to them, they were abducted, and later when they've carried out some investigations in regards to what's happened to them, they found something which they're referring to as implants. But then there are stories in regards to that, and some findings basically suggest that it's inconclusive evidence, because those can be anything. Like, for example, it can be their own body basically creating something, or some kind of a mutation within them, or and that's how this can be explained. But again, for them to claim that they were abducted is very interesting. And one story
Shah,
which,
there's another theory very related to this. Again, the argument that you made about, like, humans being kind of a seed, or the complex life form that exists on humans are basically a seed planted by the aliens
mm,
on this planet. Like, it's like, starting a, like, when you make curd out of milk, you just, like, insert that complex, or that, what do you call it, that little portion to start that complex reaction. So maybe the seed was planted by the aliens. That's why we the like our DNA information, all that idea, from a very single cell organism to this complex life that has been created on this planet, it could have been started by an alien. So these all are theories, and very interesting theories, by the way, but we don't know.
There is a simulation theory where they say that we are being run like a game by some alien species.
Yeah.
then,
Um,
then
hmm.
just imagine
No,
if there was
actually,
some
actually,
teenager.
if I could just butt in here,
Yeah, yeah, go
I
ahead.
actually have a lot of time for what Aditya just said. Um,
Mm.
if you actually look at human DNA, it has certain features to it, which, in evolutionary terms, cannot have happened through normal process of evolution. If you look at our human ancestors, the one that we know preceded Homo sapien, which I think is Homo erectus, I believe, the time in between Homo erectus and Homo sapien is not enough time for those DNA features of our DNA to have occurred naturally or spontaneously. In fact, they've calculated the normal mutation time that for it to have happened, going from Homo erectus to Homo sapien, would require more time than the Earth has existed. So the question is, how did those mutations come about?
By eating mushrooms?
Possibly,
Hmm.
or through intervention of some kind, which is also the
Yep.
other possibility.
Hmm.
No, but it has to be some kind of so that's a missing link, or that can just be a misunderstanding on our part.
No, 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 no. We know the rate at which genetic mutation occurs.
But
You
we
can
know
actually
that
you can map it.
anomalies occur in science as well.
Yeah, but scientists also say that, in some periods, these like, evolution takes a very strong, like, a very fast speed, then it almost decelerates to a very non-existent speed. So we don't know, like, these all are theories at the end of the day.
But there are two parts to evolution. There is the evolution in terms of how you um, behave, behavior, etc. But the way in which DNA mutates, that is a known speed at the rate at which those mutations happen. That is known. I mean, yes, there is some variation, but the variation is not billions of years.
Yeah, but that can just be our misinterpretation, no?
No, DNA doesn't lie. People lie. DNA
No,
doesn't.
but the anomaly might be something, or phenomena which we don't understand.
Well,
That can be a
we don't.
possibility.
In what way do we not understand that?
Same way we don't understand a lot of things. We don't understand why certain anomalies exist.
Oh no, we don't know why those anomalies exist, but we
Like
do know those
octopus.
those anomalies in our DNA cannot have occurred within the time frame that would be considered natural.
Yeah, but if we don't understand that why those anomalies are existing, how do we know how they came about?
Well, no,
Can I give you an
we
example,
know
Shaji, about
we know
that
how they
traffic?
came. We know how it came about. We just don't
How did
know
it come
what
about?
they do, but we know
How
What
did
was
it?
how
the
they occur.
catalyst?
Yeah. What was the catalyst that caused these features in our DNA to appear in such a short space of time?
What
Even
was
if
it?
you look at Shah, even if
Also,
you
if you look
look
at
at
octopus, its DNA doesn't really match any other creature on Earth.
No, no, I understand
True.
that, but
True.
that can be a lack of our own understanding. 100 years ago, we didn't even know what DNA was.
let's
That's
let's
possible.
even even get out of the idea of like DNA, and let's observe the human mind, how we perceive the world. Why do we care so much about this unknown? Like humans, why have we created so many things which other species hasn't been able to? Or why do we care about God so much, for example, right? Even if the ideas of aliens, why do we care about them so much? Why our brains are creating these ideas all the time? We could be thinking about 1,000 things, but these are these supernatural ideas are so fascinating for the human brain. Do you think any animal cares about God, or does it fear the consequences, or the ideas of shame and all these things that we have created in our brain? Where do
Actually, I've
these
got a
come
theory about
from?
that. I've got a theory about that, and it is just my own
Yeah.
personal theory. Maybe the reason why, because no other animal does care. You're right about that. No animal really cares other than us human beings. But I reckon it's because that's what makes us human. That's the reason why we, above every other animal, has managed to evolve to the extent that we have. It's that inbuilt desire to better ourselves by trying to find out how this world, this universe ticks.
I want
It's
to turn
it's
this
what
around.
pushes us forwards. Maybe, but
I
you're
want
right.
to turn this around a bit. How do you guys know what other creatures perceive, or what do they believe in God, or what their perception of God is, or how they even perceive you? We have no way
I
of
mean,
finding that
We
there
out.
We have
have
no
is
way of
studied
knowing
those
how they
Who
perceive
animals.
says
us.
that?
We have studied those animals.
No,
Like
did
we
a
have
cat
basic
come and tell you he
understandings.
doesn't believe in God?
No, no, no. We have no way of knowing how they perceive us, but we do know they don't care about God or anything like that.
How do we
For
know that?
simple, because
no,
if
but
they
animals
did,
are
they would
curious. That's why
create
we have a
religions.
saying like curious as a cat. Curiosity killed the cat.
Oh,
They're
they're
also curious like
curious,
human beings.
but not to the extent of human beings. They're not
I
No,
think
but
that
obsessed with their
because the intellect
curiosity.
level is not on that place. Like if there were cat people, not humans, they would do.
Ma'am,
They would be the
cats are
same one
curious,
curious.
but they can't differentiate between a human and other cats. If they have lived with you, they perceive you as one of their
no,
own,
that's
right?
again what we say. That is
Mhm.
our understanding, but that doesn't
No, but we
basically.
have studies. We
Yeah,
have studied these
I
animals.
don't think it's factual to state what if technically there is no way of finding out how they basically perceive God or what they think of the ecosystem. We don't know. We can just observe behaviors.
I mean, like just like we say that we cannot see the supernatural, but cats can.
Mm.
Well, we assume they can. We don't actually know they can or not.
Yeah.
We
But
assume.
thing is, we have no way of knowing how animals perceive us. We can only assume, but we don't really know. But we do know this: animals, other than humans, aren't obsessed with things like God and religion and science or what have you. And we know this because they don't pursue it.
No,
They're very
I disagree. They
right.
don't pursue it the way we do it. They have their own ecosystem. Like, for example, when
No,
you
no, no,
look at a
no, no, no,
tiger,
no,
he
no, no, no,
perceives
no, no, no,
things.
no. We pursue it the way that we do because we are compelled to pursue it that way,
No,
because that's inside us.
okay,
That's what we do.
I'll refer back to the ants for a second. So
Mm.
an ant can perceive left and right, but it does go up and down as well, right? It's still navigating perfectly well and surviving in its own ecosystem. They develop
Yes,
their own cities. They've got their entire system running. It has
nice.
its own economics. It has its own geography, and so it will also have theology to some extent, however it is, or by the law of they live by the law of nature in their given environment as they've evolved, and we do the same in our given environment. So,
No,
I
no,
don't really think we can fundamentally make that statement and perceive it to be accurate or factual that they don't pursue God
no,
or they have
no,
no perception of God. We don't
no.
know.
You're making a crucial error, Sir Glenn.
Hmm.
You're putting 2 plus 2, and you're coming out with 3 or
How
5.
please explain.
Right? You're right in the sense that the ants, they'll build their colonies, they have their own economies, they have all of that physical stuff. But we know that they don't go in for the cultural stuff because they don't do anything that remotely resembles any form of cultural interaction. They
No,
don't
that's
do mass
incorrect.
rituals. They don't do
No, no,
even
no.
shamanistic
There
rituals.
are ant rituals. There
There
are
aren't.
ant rituals. They don't know,
There
like for
aren't.
example, when the queen is about to die, right?
Yes.
They perform. They even there's a mourning period where they mourn as a colony. So then they gather, and there's an
Like the
entire
way they
ceremony.
fight for the leadership as bees
Mhm.
and or a lion in a pride.
Exactly.
That's a cultural thing, I
Is,
guess.
is that cultural, or is that
Yeah, yeah.
simply physical, as in a
That's why
means to
it's
an
called.
end?
That's why it's even referred to a colony's atmosphere, and how they behave is different from every colony is unique. Every queen is unique. Her workers are unique, and on top of that, what's very interesting is that scientifically it is referred to as a culture.
So, Shah,
Okay.
another interesting thing about
Okay.
animals. So, you have heard about the phrase "shake
No,
it
no, let
off,"
him
right?
complete. Let him
Yeah, sure.
answer it. Then you
No, no,
can
no,
add.
no, no, no. Carry on, carry on. No, I accept the possibility. I'm yet to be convinced.
Yeah, so
No,
the
no, no.
idea that we have this phrase "shake it off." So, even
Yeah.
when we observe animals, when like just imagine a goat has been chased by a cheetah, and the goat finally survives at the end of it. They will after being saved by the from the cheetah. They'll enter a safe space, then they'll their body will shake a bit, and all that the trauma and all that what do you call it, uh, that
PTSD.
energy, that
PTSD.
yeah, you can call it PTSD, or all that trauma that has been created in his brain or in his body. They literally shake it off. When they shake their body, they literally remove all that trauma, because their life is all about survival. They have to fight for their survival every single day. When they survive, they can't just relax for 2 days because, oh, my life just got saved. No, they have to shake it off, and then they go out to eat. They have to again go to that same pond to drink water, and it's a everyday struggle. So even if you talk about the ritual part of it, the ritual could be again the same thing that the ants are doing. Even elephants do it for their young ones. When they
Mm,
die, they have
mm,
this this rituals that they perform.
mm,
Sometimes they would even bury those dead animals. The dogs do it. It's not because they love the animal. It's because they fear that, if they let the dog or the, the small baby die, be lying on the floor, it after it dies, the strong pungent smell of that dead body will attract other predators. So it all has science behind it. It isn't like how humans do it. We do things very differently than animals. So that there's a difference, you can't deny that.
That's because we have more developed sense of emotions. That's why.
No, I think what it comes down to, I agree with what Maham's just said as well. It's not just different set of emotions, but like for example, like we've looked into ants deeply, it's a biological limitation which an
Mm.
ant basically has. Same way you have a biological limitation as a human being as well. You can't go beyond it, Aditya. Now,
Even
do you
that
think
ritual
a
that
cat
you
is
were
some?
talking about, Shah.
Sorry, one example. When we say a cat perceives us as another cat, how do you know it's not perceiving you as some kind of a godly figure who's
I mean, take
serving
an
it?
Because we
example.
have,
Aditya,
studied.
एक second. Monkey, being the relative of human, it has an average IQ of 72, 74. And a human being, average IQ, the lowest would be somewhere in the 90s, like 90. Like if you're really dumb, you either have a 91 or 92 IQ, right? So of course there will be some certain differences, and I mean
Hmm?
we can't
The
behave the same.
smartest chimps are like 50 IQ. Most of them are like 15 to 18 IQ. It's not true. It's a, again, made up theory by
No,
humans
no,
only.
I think it's 74 last I read.
Average
72.
average chimps are like 15 to 18 IQ. And again, at the end of the day, even the idea of measuring human intelligence by IQ is flawed.
Okay, but that would be another that would be another conversation. But Aditya, there's another example which has just come to my mind, and maybe Rafi can speak about that as well.
Can I just butt in for a
Hold on,
second, just to clarify something about
Mhm.
cats? As someone who's had two cats for about 14 years, I can tell
Yeah,
you
yeah.
they do not perceive us as gods. If anything, it's
Maybe
the
they
other
perceive
way
you as
Oh,
round.
they see us as
They
staff.
perceive us as their servants,
no,
basically.
maybe they perceive
As
you
their
as a slave.
servants, as their slaves, right?
Yeah, but not. But we cannot be sure that they view us as another cat. They never came and told us that. That's
Actually,
a presumption.
there's a lot of. I would actually say there's more evidence to suggest that they do, because
But
the
the
way they
communication is
interact
not
with you,
ways.
they
You get what?
expect you to act with them in the same way. That's the
Yes,
point.
because
So,
that's
Shah,
what
we have
interaction is
studied
all
those
about.
behavioral sciences and, their reaction towards you, towards other cats. And it's very similar.
No, no,
It's multiple
I accept
people
that.
have done that.
No, no,
Mm.
I accept that to a great extent, but at the same time, you cannot basically completely perceive what their ecosystem or what their perception about the rest of the world which they're living in is, or how they perceive it to a complete factual level. Another example would be, I remember there were studies, and I remember going through them with you, Rafi, in particular. I think that was back in 2010, 2011, when there was this phenomena of pigeons basically navigating or have learned to navigate through using roads, or they were flying on top of roads to navigate and shorten their distances. So they had these air routes. Do you
Yeah,
remember?
yeah, I remember
So
that.
obviously they picked up on something, no?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
So
possibly,
obviously,
possibly.
so that
But
observation shows us that at any given stage, a species will be given certain information, and they'll learn, and they'll begin to interact with their environment and other species to a certain extent within. their vicinity, or within that environment where they happen to be, with all the biological limitations which they were born with.
Well, yes, but humans end up doing it to a degree which is way beyond anything that any other animal
Absolutely, I
does.
agree with
I mean,
that. Now,
put it this way.
this is a more
I was
precise
gonna I
statement.
was
I
gonna
agree.
use the example that humans are the only animal that do things just for the sake of doing them for no other purpose. But that's not true. Lots
That's
of
not true.
animals play and do stuff which has no purpose other than it's just a bit of fun. I mean,
Mm.
chimps and other monkeys do that all the time. They just play. With a lot of animals, their play is actually them practicing their hunting skills and things, but not with primates. With primates, when they just play for the fun of it. But
But
humans are the
Rafi,
only
you know,
ones.
chimps actually show symptoms of revenge as well.
Yes, they
It
do.
has.
They do. But the difference between humans and animals, including primates, is that we're the only ones that take it to the nth degree. We're obsessed with doing things simply for the sake of doing them. There's no other reason to do them other than because we want to. Not because we have to. It's not about survival. It's just because we want to. There is
Rafi,
no
for an
reason why.
example,
I'll give you an
for an
example. Like
example,
5,000 years ago, they built huge temples to worship their gods. Why? They don't have to build a temple to worship a god, but they just did. Now, they had their reasons, of course, but humans are the only ones that do that,
I
that do
just
these
think
things
different
just for the
animals.
sake of it.
I think all species do that, but they do it to a different extent, and different perceptions are made to measure those.
Which is why I said that humans take it to the nth degree. We
Now
take
we
it
that
do it,
is
overboard.
where
we
it
do it so
gets even
differently.
more interesting, because this basically is the reason why all of a sudden people become scared when they refer to these kind of things as supernatural and everything else, because that is a phenomena we cannot understand. And when we look at it, we can like pretty much see it holistically.
Yeah,
Now,
another difference that I want to point out about humans, like coming out from the same discussion, how humans are different from animals. Animals will try to be a part of nature. Humans will never ever try to be a part of nature. Humans always want to fight the nature. Since the very basic evolution of humans, just imagine humans are the only animals on this planet who literally picked a stone and tried to kill another animal. Like no other animal till date does that, right? We literally sharpened those stones and tried to kill animals. That's
I
how we
don't see
started,
it that way,
right?
Aditya. I'm
Even
really
today,
sorry,
no
but I
animal
don't
does
see it
that,
that
dude.
way. I'll tell you why I don't see it that way. I don't see it that way because if you think about it, right? Even when you look at house cats, ones you keep as pets, they're being fed and everything, and they adapt to that environment of that home. But when they see a mouse or something, right? Or something which is moving, they're not hungry. That's not why they're hunting it. They're hunting it sometimes just to play, sometimes just to practice, sometimes to harness their skills. So the instinct of every creature, in my opinion, is to somehow, what you're referring to as fighting, but somehow make the ecosystem and the environment to work in their favor. Same example can be used like we were speaking earlier about the cats, for example. A cat behaves in a certain way to get your attention, so you feed it, even if you might think it perceives you as a slave, or you see that, but that's an adaptation on the cat's part. It's manipulating the situation, it's fighting nature. A human being is not actually compelled to go and feed it, but the cat behaves in such a way that the human feeds it. So that can be, from a cat's opinion, manipulation of environment as well, just like you're referring to human
I
beings.
think you're giving the cats too much credit for it, man.
There can be no,
My
if you
mom
No,
have these
think
cats.
but it's
after
there.
14 years, with cats, trust me, they know what they do.
I'm going to use the उर्दू का फिक्रा आपके तो दोनों बिल्ले खुश रहे हैं ना मेरी वो जो इंग्लैंड में है ना उनका उनको क्या पता वो तो मेट भी नहीं करते रफी भाई
My mom have these cats. She doesn't exactly keep them, but they're like stray cats who come to my mom for food, right? So whenever they're at the door and they see any the kitchen door and they see any human over there, they start knocking the door. Like
It's
they
been
manipulation.
start
great, but I've got to
knocking.
go, people.
Yeah,
Sorry about
because
that.
they want you to notice them, to give them food.
Okay, Rafi bhai, thank you very much for coming. Give your
Okay,
final conclusion and then you can.
take it easy. Look, final conclusion is that all possibilities remain possible until you rule them out. Don't rule out the possibility of extraterrestrial, but also don't rule the possibility of interdimensional either. Those possibilities exist until we can rule them out. Anyway, thank you very much and speak to you again some point.
Yeah, thanks a lot for coming.
See you.
Take care.
So Shah, I think my final conclusion to this
तुम्हारा
discussion.
final conclusion नहीं है, you still have to continue.
Yeah. So my this we are concluding this, Shah.
No, we're
So
not. We have to go through a bit of the subject still. So, what is the probability of now he's gone? So, come on, open up. The specialist is gone. How are you perceiving it? Why is this government looking into this then? Why aren't they referring to these people as idiots anymore, Aditya?
Shah, let me tell you one thing. And I try to be smarter, or at least I try to act smarter than I actually am all the time. But in this case, I have 0.00% understanding why would they do it or why they are doing it. Like literally no idea.
There
It
must be
doesn't
something
it
like, for
doesn't make
example,
any sense, Shah.
but
It
Aditya,
does.
Maham, even like 4 weeks ago, if somebody would have said that Congress is going to take care of these things and these people are going to be invited, all these conspiracy theorists, people who've been referred to as idiots, left, right, and center in academia
Actually,
and
till like
everything.
last year, 2010, the first UFO Capitol Hill hearing was held last year.
Yeah, but
That
but what I
doesn't
mean
make
is, all of a
any
sudden,
sense
the
to
government
me.
has finally began to acknowledge these things. So Aditya, back in 2005, right? I was in Canada and I met this woman, right, in Youth Hosting International, and what she was basically stating over there that the government of the US has classified her as insane and all that, and she was a doctor by profession, a medical doctor, uh, and they've rendered her insane because she was talking about certain activities which took place in her vicinity, and they just basically classified her as a lunatic. She was perfectly sane.
My
And
only question is, even if aliens exist and the US army or military has cited them, why would they come out and talk about it? Which again, I think like I'm very
so what is it?
suspicious
There is
of their
definitely okay. So you're saying
intentions
there's a
behind it.
no, but what is behind it then? What, what are these
I'm
people doing?
their intentions behind it. Why are they doing it now?
So Maham, why do you think they're doing it then?
Well, I guess, first of all, I think these people who are saying these things, they've been threatened by the government to not do it. But I guess at this point, back in the days, people used to take it as conspiracies. But I guess as technology is getting better, right? There are more sighting of such things, which makes it more and more believable. So now they want to, and especially when it's around the military area, it kind of makes it more dangerous as well for the sovereignty of a country. So I think that now I don't even know if they're going to take it seriously even now, but some inside military people going on air and saying these things. Uh, I think it's happening because there are more cases and they're more like that journalist guy said that the military is in the military have a big number of videos and pictures that are very visible, not just a blurred, bad pixeled one. And also that the government and other countries have the UAP technologies. They've actually found well, their planes or something, even their biological dead bodies. So I guess some people are now taking it seriously. They would
So there's
and what
something
they can do.
which
Or what can happen is that after some time, when it dies down, they will just forget about it, and they will make all these men disappear as well.
you see, this cannot happen this time round, because now in right now, uh, one of the Einstein of today who's alive, Machio Kaku, he's gone out and endorsed it as a possibility. So that would mean what you're going to be doing by just forgetting this, in terms of the heavyweights who've come out and basically said that this is a possibility, is simply not possible, in my opinion. And one more thing, I think you heard that hearing. Aditya, did you hear the Congress hearing?
Not really,
Okay,
but I
when
have,
you
read articles about it.
okay, so one of the things, if you were to go and listen to those hearings, is that majority of people who were brought into question from the government and the authorities, they seem to be deviating from the questions. They're being really disingenuous. They're not answering the questions. It's almost like they're trying not to answer. And that again is something which is only going to make people very much skeptical.
Yeah, in most of the answer, they would say that they cannot say this in public. They will need
Yeah.
a private setting to discuss that incident.
So that's why I don't think this is going to die out. There's no chance this can die out now. They have to come up with. Some people are basically okay. There's another thing. So there's something known as Star Labs, a well-known organization which carries out research into various phenomena and various technologies, like a proper research organization. So last year, that organization was basically contacted by the American government, who provided them with samples to basically test a few things. So if all this thing is supposed to be a malarkey and it's nothing at all, then why would the army be pursuing that? Why would the government be pursuing that? Is a question. Why would they be providing these materials to a research lab to go and figure this out? There's something there, right? Something which they don't know about. Are you there? Anyone?
I mean, it doesn't really make much difference unless we actually see proof, right? So even if there is something, they will. It might just, people might just not remember it. Like last year when the first hearing happened, I think his device got disconnected. The last year when the hearing happened, nothing exactly happened after that. The hearing happened, everybody was like, "Oh my God, there is this, there is that," but that's it. Everybody forgot about it. Then
Yeah, but they forgot about it because the academics had not taken it so seriously at that time. Right now, the faculties in various top end universities are coming out with professors who happen to be proper researchers in these phenomena. Another good example would be Aditya is gone, but in the last 2 decades in specific, there's been a lot of interest in Hindu culture. They're not pursuing that as like a religion, but they're looking into certain clues as to what these phenomena are and what these ancient cultures might have recorded and how they must have perceived those things.
yeah, but as long as we don't have some solid proof of it where we can see everything, it doesn't really make much difference, right, to the masses. It will just, in some time, it will just go away. Everyone will forget.
Well, one thing has certainly changed. I don't think people are going to view people who are proposing these things as insane, and that stigma which was attached with this entire thing is certainly going to go away now, in my opinion.
Well, yes, I guess most of the people that I see actually have started believing in these things. So, yeah, that's true, I guess.
Because it's there, you can't deny it. There were some conversations in regards to this. They were basically saying that what is the religion going to do about this? But it seems like religion will be more accepting of this, whether it's the Abrahamic faith, there is some kind of an explanation and room for interterrestrial as well as extraterrestrial being. They might have a different name for it, but or different arguments in regards to the origin of them, but the presence is there. And even in other cultures, even Hinduism is no different to that. They have their own explanation in regards to that. The phenomena of what can be classified as interterrestrial or extraterrestrial is not an issue which at least religion is going to suffer from. But it seems science and scientists have caught up with that, which is interesting.
We won't know for sure unless we see them. I don't think religion can do much about it once they, like, if we start seeing them. I don't think it would matter what Abrahamic religion or any other religion says about it. No?
But at the end of the day, they won't be conflicting from that. There won't be a conflict. Apparently, so some Christian people and Christian churches and Christian leaders have gone out and basically said that these are demons. Stay away from them. Don't look after them. Don't bother them. Let them do their thing. Don't disturb something which you don't understand. So that's the advice coming out of the church circles.
That does make sense. You know
Mm.
that, right?
Yeah, yeah. Because I think that goes hand in hand with the theology of Islam as well.
Well, I haven't seen a Muslim being rigid to the idea, to that idea. I mean, no
Yeah.
offense, but Christianity have had quite many episodes like this. Like, for example, the witch hunt and the way they've hunted the homosexuals. Islam generally do not, Muslims do not have those tendencies. Like, if you ask a Muslim about aliens, they actually would say that, yeah, I mean, Quran is not just for this earth; it's for the whole universe. So they're more open to the ideas.
Mm. But I don't think in this case, even Islam basically tells you to stay. It does tell you, it's not denying its existence, but it does tell you to be safe from creatures as well as it's kind of advised to stay away from jinns, for example. Don't mess with them, or don't mess with the supernatural or ecosystem in general below you or above you. So I think it's in cohesion with that as well.
Yeah, I guess maybe. I guess
Yeah,
this topic is done for the day,
yeah.
and we should move toward closing it. And I hope if there are aliens and if they exist, I hope they visit as soon as possible. I would like to see them in my lifetime. Anyway, thank you for listening. And thank you for staying with us. Subscribe to the channel. Press the bell button to get regular update when we put up our sessions. Other than that, have a good day, good evening, and good afternoon wherever you are. Thank you. Bye bye.